Hello,
It all
everybody.
look alike.
Hello, everybody. Sadet guys again here, I see, huh? Well, welcome back to another episode of Burgers and Fries Game Talk with a Shake. This is episode 10. Yes, we're on episode 10 here. Been doing this for 10 episodes here. Doing a lot of creative ideas here. We talk about like video game consoles, the PlayStation Network store, PC gaming, and more and more. But today we're gonna be talking about something that me and
We're kind of going off of what we were originally planning. Originally, we were going to do handhelds, but we kind of ended up changing it a couple days ago.
yeah, because we were because join this is on the evolution de-evolution of video game enemies. I'm joined by my co-hosts Grim Monolith and Mrs. Giggles of the group, Sadet the Hyperactive Princess. the the
I'm I'm actually not here this episode, so
You're talking
You
during the
are
episode.
here,
You're
Grim.
t-
what?
Grim, you
What?
are here. You are just being a ninja enemy that's being annoying right now.
Oh God, how did you guys know that I was here?
we
Damn it!
our ninja senses were tingling. Our ninja sense was tingling. That's what it was. We can sense the stuff because
Hey,
we're ninjas.
hey, have you guys ever seen a ninja parade?
Nope, never.
I've never seen one either.
Yep, yep. And yeah, this is gonna be an epic show here because I was talking to Sadet about this the other day, and like we were talking about the enemy variation, the Atelier franchise, and we were amazed. Sorry, I got the hiccups there. We were amazed on how creative the enemies were because a lot of creativity in the enemies, especially in those JRPGs there, or like Neptunia, the Atelier franchise, and other things. But there are also the enemies that like have devolved and become very generic looking. Like you see that a lot these days in like for trying to think of what games like probably like in a lot of first person shooters or survival horrors and stuff like that and other things like some of the stuff is very generic and everything. Where just like it's kind of a snooze fest, kind of puts you to sleep, and it could cure insomnia if it was the case you're playing a game with
You
boring
used
enemies.
that insomnia joke so many times it's not funny anymore, TT.
Well, sorry, I just couldn't. It's the best thing I can think of at the moment because we're talking
Uh,
about.
uh,
We need to
I'm
find a
sorry.
new
I'm
enemy
sorry, guys.
design for that.
I'm sorry, guys. I fell asleep for a second. I fell asleep for a second. It's a joke. Insomnia. I fell. Oh God.
You're
All right.
fine, Grim. Grim, you're fine. You're fine. We come on. We gotta have some humor in this. Don't we gotta have humor in this here, definitely. But like yeah, just Sadet, why don't you start off here because I know this is your idea to make stuff. So let's take it away.
Well, in the early stages of video games, being uncreative with enemies was part of the limitation with how much space you had. For example, you have different colored Koopas and Goombas that only slight variations in early games, like the very first Super Mario Bros. One type of Koopa will just fall off a cliff, while the other type just goes back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
Your
And
type
then
will have
you,
wings.
and there's also the ones that have wings, but once again, one either goes off the edge, or one goes back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and with the ones that were just mostly jumping.
Yeah, it's like
But as video games went on, there has been like new variants of enemies that were being made, unique ones, unique recolors. One of my personal favorite enemies, which was actually a boss from the original Paper Mario game, was the Koopa Bros. Four colored Koopas that were a reference to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
I figured that this is where the reference was from. Different colored shells,
That
different...
is a good, they were a good way of doing a recolor and having them unique. Meanwhile, with Atelier Ryza 2, and this one kind of sucks. And this also goes for the first Atelier Ryza game as well as some of the mysterious games. The DLC boss that's the most difficult boss to defeat are just a recolor of the final bosses. Meaning, aside from having more HP and more power, they're actually kind of disappointing. You're supposed to be making a cool DLC boss, like, for example, Atelier Meru. The DLC boss in her game was something you didn't see throughout the rest of the game, of the main story. The Machine of God.
Yeah, of course, like, it's also like the same with the Mugen Souls too, like how they had a lot of creative of enemies there that all looked different from one another, and just it added more, it added to the variety in there. Just like variety is a key word that a lot of game developers don't understand. I mean, the bigger the variety, the better is how I rule, in my opinion.
And pretty much, it can get to very disappointing with recolors. I will admit that in Atelier Sophie, yeah, the Admiral Puni, an optional boss you can face when the request for it shows up, is just a giant blue Puni, bigger than the big Punis.
Yeah, one of the most common enemies are the
However,
ponies.
the thing that made Admiral Puni interesting is that it pretty much places itself as like the leader of the Punis in that game. How one of each different type of Puni was surrounding it like it was showing respect as all-powerful Puni, all-powerful Puni. Which that
All
thing is
powerful
very
pony.
difficult to beat, by the way, if you're not prepared.
That's why you try to fight as many enemies as you can to get leveled up and stuff. That's what I used to do. I mean, a lot of people usually play.
You know Atelier isn't just
I know.
focus on the levels to get strong, right?
Well, yeah, I know that. I'm just talking about like JRPGs in general. I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because like it's kind of like when it comes to like variety of enemies, it was kind of like that with Resident Evil for a little bit at first. Like even when they first started, like the variety was not really big there because like you had one type of zombie, you had the bald zombie with the dark green shirt, then you had the zombie with the dark hair that had like the white shirt and pants, and that's pretty much the only zombies you saw throughout the game, which is like two different types of zombies or so, and like it just made different noises just there and everything.
Like, early games like that can get away with the excuse of not
Let me-
having much to work with.
I agree, Sadet, because you're dealing with low sprite counts, low. You don't have
Low
a
sprite
huge.
count, low polygon,
You don't have
not
a
a
lot
lot
of
of
colors to
things.
deal with. Especially when you're talking about 8-bit. And going to the 16-bit era, they could do a little more, but yeah, the tech wasn't there. The technology wasn't there in the 8-bit world. But let me mention my one enemy that to this day still hasn't changed in the 35 or so years that this enemy has existed. It has never changed. And it still exists today as it did back in the 80s. And that is the Dragon Warrior / Dragon Quest slime.
I was going to say anxiety. Because
But think about it. The
that's one
slime.
of the enemies of life in general.
Yeah, think about it though. The slime. It's in the current Dragon Quest. and it was in the original Dragon Quest.
And
The enemy that has never changed.
Yes, but it's also gotten kind of a recolors with the metal slime and been like partnered up with other slimes to do something unique. Like if there's 3 slimes, they stack on top of each other to make a slime tower? Okay.
Yeah, I get you.
At least they're doing something instead of just being, we are enemies, we'll just hit. And if there's like, what, 5, 7, 8 to them, they become like that king slime? I forget how many need it, but that's still pretty unique in a way, because it's not just recolor, it's the same enemy, yes, but it's multiple of the same enemy working together, unified and such, in a way that makes it kind of unique, because they're all working together to kick your ass. And to me, that is unique. What is not unique is like, I look like that guy and I do the same thing like that guy, but I just wear a red shirt. That's just boring.
Snooze fast.
It is just
Like,
snooze fast. That's
yeah,
true.
maybe they hit a little harder or give a little bit more EXP, but it's just still the same fight.
What about, and I know with everything you've been talking about here, but what about Final Fantasy bosses?
Final Fantasy bosses, they can be unique and stuff that depending on the game. Like, it's just, I will admit, like, Final Fantasy 7, 8, 9, and 10 had some very unique, and 10 do had unique bosses and everything. That was the only ones I played, but 13 and 12 and 13, like, their bosses come off as generic. Like, oh, look, a giant monster. Oh, that's so exciting. Or so, oh, wow, this isn't exciting at all and stuff. You
Wow. I am fighting this thing that does not really look all that threatening.
No, it's
Yeah.
like, it
So
was...
it's always funny when the most unthreatening of enemies, the most generic looking of enemies that turns out to be a boss or hidden boss, be one of the most stupidly OP things. It's kind of funny in a way.
Did you guys get a chance to play the FF7 remake?
No, I'm fine with the original one.
No.
So maybe in the future I'll
I
play
have
it,
not,
but not now.
but I have seen a top 10 water boss video, and it had Leviathan, and I gotta ask, why is Leviathan in a VR setting?
You want to know? So do I.
Another franchise that I think has had sort of notable bosses, of course, unfortunately reused bosses, Zelda, right?
Of course, Zelda.
Zelda.
Of course, Zelda. I mean,
Yeah.
me not being a big fan of Zelda.
However, the Zelda franchise, even though they have reused enemies, they have always been making subtle changes to said enemies, all the way to the point that bokoblins live in tribes of sorts, and you can actually see like some of them like do certain things and such.
Oh, I just
Being like a tribe.
I just want to throw this out there before we get totally off Final Fantasy. The reason why I asked about Final Fantasy VII was I did enjoy the remake, but my complaint about it is, one, it wasn't the whole game. I'm sure everyone has that complaint. The other thing is it was very much an interactive movie and less of a game per se. I'm not saying that there wasn't a lot of game elements, a lot of RPG elements in the remake, and there certainly were. But
Grim?
the experience was definitely a interactive movie for the most part.
Hey,
But I
Grim?
brought up, yes, let me just finish. I just wanted to bring up Final Fantasy VII because I love Sephiroth. I think Sephiroth is a
Sephiroth.
great boss. I think he is a great character.
Same with
Just
Sin and
in
LeBlanc.
general in video game history. I think
Grim?
Sephiroth for me is awesome.
Going
Yes.
back to that whole interactive movie thing,
Yep.
at least it's better than the Minecraft interactive Netflix thing.
I haven't seen that. What happened
Really?
with Netflix and Minecraft?
They have an interactive cartoon.
They do. I haven't watched it. Is it interactive, kind of like Bandersnatch was?
Never heard of that, but it's like
Bandersnatch was that that huge. So Netflix did this huge.
or maybe even that Boss Baby one, because Boss Baby has an interactive cartoon on Netflix as well, where it's like, if you hit this button, this is gonna happen, but if you hit this one, this thing is going to happen. And it's like, why? There's pretty much, back to the Admiral Poonie thing, with the smaller Poonies just like worshipping it by the way it's all the smaller Poonies of each type in a circle around the Admiral Poonie. It gives it the sense of leader, and because of how it feels like it's the most important of the Poonies, it actually feels like a boss fight and does have a few unique attacks compared to the average Poonies. That is a way to do a recolor right. Have it unique enough, or even give it a story purpose instead of just being I exist. Which, even though the newer Paper Mario games have been doing the same thing with their NPCs, it's not as memorable, and pretty much almost every single helpful NPC is a toad. A toad. A toad. A toad. Unlike the older games where you have like these unique races that just felt so vibrant, makes the world feel more alive. Like there's other races than Koopa, Goomba, whatever's the Spinies, the
Whatever you call them.
Lackitudes, the Toads,
Lucky
the
Twos.
Buzzy Beetles, and the Odd Human? Huh.
Odd indeed. But like, if you want to talk about another game franchise that has unique enemies and stuff, it's the Neptunia franchise. Sure, you find some of the same enemies and stuff, but you got some of the giant monsters that look really cool too. Like, got this like wolf-like monster, which was just like colored in white, like ice and stuff like that and such. I mean, they do have variety in those too, and this American Combat House Dressing Matt have known to making good enemies and stuff. And just like it's one of the things that made them fun was like you find all those different enemies and stuff, trying to find the weaknesses and the weak points and such. I mean, that's the interesting thing about like when it's like a variety of enemies. It requires you to think on your feet on how to like defeat the enemies or so.
I agree that Neptunia series has had a lot of interesting enemies. Although
Even the main boss,
I mean,
one of
the complaints about the Neptunia series though is that the combat is flat.
Yeah, well, but that's
And-
we're talking about the enemies though, huh?
I understand, but the way that the combat systems work in a game can make or break how good an enemy is by what that enemy can do. And this has a lot to do with, I think, Sadet's evolution in her idea of evolution and the de-evolution of enemies, because we're kind of talking about, like, if you take the Zelda series or even the Final Fantasy series, or no, better yet, the Zelda series, because and the Mario games, because those games have reused characters throughout the history of the game. So
and yet they're always doing at least a little unique thing based on either just making the enemies more interesting, like they did in Zelda with the bokoblins,
yeah,
where they are living in tribes and some of them are doing unique animations, like dancing around or even just reacting to stuff like, whoa, what was that? Like,
so so in the terms, I'll let you finish in a second, Sadet, sorry. But in terms of these enemies that, or these series that are long-standing, that have been around for 35 to 40 years almost, right? You can look at a character like, I don't know, Ganon, for example. How was he in the 8-bit era to how they evolved him to the current era? You know, and that's what have they done to make the boss or the enemies that are constantly being reused for all these decades better and more interesting?
and speaking of Ganon, they have made him interesting in a funny way by having said final boss get distracted by a joke item. That is hilarious. That just adds a bit of character. Like in Twilight Princess, holding up the fishing rod, Ganondorf's like, what? Just looking at the fishing rod.
Yes, that's true. That is actually true. But I didn't mean, I didn't mean to cut you off in what you were saying about Neptunia, Tony. But here's the thing, and I think that
Grim?
this has, yes, go ahead.
Sorry for cutting you off here, but this isn't that kind of our little thing in this podcast.
We cut people off when we feel like it.
We just cut people off either intentionally or unintentionally because pop, something appeared in our mind, must say.
Well, you're allowed to anyway. You're allowed to in Burgers and Fries, so if you're fine.
I was only saying, Tony, that I think the evolution of the combat system, or just what the combat system in general in a particular series, as the series progresses, means a lot, because again, that kind of will dictate what they can make the enemies do and how they can change them and how they can evolve them. And I think one of the biggest complaints that I've seen about the Neptunia games, and of course the Neptunia games don't date back to 8 or 16-bit era. You know, they're games that are only from the 32-bit era forward, but you know, they haven't done a lot to really change the combat system in the Neptunia games. And I think that's a big complaint. So I have heard a lot of people say that the enemies have become kind of one-dimensional in the game because of that. That each Neptunia game is just so similar to the previous Neptunia games.
Yeah, I feel like if they put a bit more money into making the game and a little bit more time, they could make something more unique that feels different from the previous installment, aside from changing genres. Because Neptunia does have a couple fighting games and such.
True. Were you guys talking about the Atelier games earlier, in the enemies in the Atelier games?
Yep.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, I just want to, because I didn't chime in on that, but I want to say that I think that the evolution of that series has, they've done really well, I think, with the evolution of that, especially into Rise of 2.
At least at the early points anyways,
Yeah.
because it's at least with the final DLC boss, it just started becoming copy and paste.
I think Ryza 2, though, is, I think, well, yeah, I mean, the combat system's not that much different, but I don't know. I found the game more interesting because I put a lot of hours into it. By the way, Ryza 3 has been greenlit,
Yeah.
so we'll find out.
Yeah.
We'll find out.
Yeah.
We'll find out soon when it's coming out. Probably late
And we
2022.
get boss because they have alluded in the second game of boss joining after he finishes something. Can we please have that come around?
Oh yes, please.
Because it's in the conversations with boss in the second game, he does want to join on Ryza's adventure someday. He just has not felt ready and wanted to do something before joining her. So he has to be in the third game as a
Yeah.
playable character.
That would definitely be cool. Yeah,
Because
that would be
it's
awesome.
pretty much becoming full circle of the fact that he wants to join Ryza on an adventure someday.
Well, how do you guys feel about enemies and bosses in the Persona series?
I have
And
no.
I think
Go ahead.
I think for most people listening, I would say Persona 5, which is I think the most popular. Well, Persona 4 was very popular, but Persona 5 definitely the most popular of all the Persona games.
I'd have to say some of those enemies have a, well, at least one of them have an interesting design. Why that design, though?
Well, fill us in, Sadet. Tell us about this design.
Phallus symbol on a chariot.
Well, Persona is definitely
It's
has been
definitely
known.
not for kids.
Yeah, it's not for kids, and it's been known for its imagery, if you know what I mean. Known
Yeah,
for its
like
imagery.
Conqueror's Bad Fur Day.
Which will never get a sequel because Microsoft will never let it happen.
Right. But like
Nor ever let the game be good again. Their so-called uncensored was censored to hell.
Are you talking about the Xbox release for it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What about the rare? I think I might have asked you about this before because I didn't.
I
Really,
never
I didn't.
played the Rare Replay. I think that
Okay.
was Link's.
Yeah, I didn't play the rare replay version of it either. I do have it.
Just throw a quick
I think it's on Game Pass, I believe. So, I mean, it is an M-rated game, so I don't see why you'd want to censor it. But
yeah.
you know.
But like with when it comes to like the enemies here, like just like we talk about Persona, I don't really know anything about Persona, so I can't really say anything about it. But like even in the Sonic the Hedgehog games, you had some unique enemies too. Like I talk about the 3D ones, like Sonic Adventure, Sonic 2. You had some unique enemies that from just like the common classic robots. There you had like the artificial chaos and the space colony arc, and you like had of course like you had Chaos as well, who was pretty unique. You had like
Okay, I got a reply from Link. The Rare Replay version apparently was not censored.
oh okay
Very nice.
okay, but
Very
what
nice, and that is on Game Pass for anyone who has Game Pass.
yeah. But like back to what I was saying, I don't know if you guys heard.
Yeah,
this.
go ahead about Sonic. Yep.
But like just that, even like in Sonic Adventure 1, 2, you had like unique enemies as well. Like of course, like you didn't just have like simple like egg this and egg that, or so you didn't have like just simple the Eggman robots like that fight them. You had like the E series robots that you could fight as bosses, and you had Zero, the Chase Master, and trying to think what else they had there. Of course, like Chaos himself, and like just even the artificial chaos and the space colony arc and stuff like that. They were all they're all
Mhm.
unique in their own ways and stuff, and like it's just
And even in Shadow the Hedgehog, when you revisit the memory of the Space Colony arc as one of the stages, the I believe that chaos was also in there as well,
yeah, the artificial chaos,
like the artificial chaos.
yeah, it was in the
And
one level.
if I'm remembering correctly, I could be wrong here. I think those were a little unique as well.
Yeah, they were unique, especially Black Doom as the boss. He was badass, almost like Mephiles and such from Sonic 06. And yes, I find Mephiles unique, even though he looked like Shadow at first, because he was like Shadow or something like that. But still, he was
Shadow.
he was unique in his own way, especially how he looked at the end where he got all glossy looking and all that stuff. That's the proper word to say. Like he looked
Like
all
revealing his
true identity.
its true identity
Yeah,
sort of
like
thing.
that. Yeah, and especially even the way he talks is unique too. Like the day of disaster, how I waited for this moment. I'll turn Tarantulas back in time when the evilest Stricker was alive. And do that stuff, which is like that's off topic there, but yeah, gotta have some humor in this, people. And like I
Yeah,
remember.
because it's no use.
How about this? Take this.
So let me pose this question for you, Tony, since you're bringing up all the stuff about Sonic. Um, how would you rank the evolution of the enemies in Sonic then, from the 16-bit era to the 32-bit era? Starting with the Dreamcast, of course, going into the 3D versions. Uh, would you say that that was a well done evolution? Because when you get into like the Xbox, even Sonic Generations, right? There's a lot of people, and Sonic on the Wii. A lot of people didn't like those games. They have bad ratings, and I like them. I liked Sonic Generations a lot. But a lot of people didn't like those games. So that's why I'm asking, how would you basically rate the evolution of the enemies from the 16-bit to the the side-scrolling era of Sonic to the 3D era of Sonic?
Well, to answer the question as best as I could, like, the enemies have definitely improved a lot over the 3D era, because they added more enemies to that. It wasn't just the same, like robots, which, for the 16-bit era, for the side-scroller Sonic, that was okay, because that was 16-bit. You could get away with that. But you were gonna have to add more stuff to it, so that's why.
At least the bosses were different.
Yes, I know, but I'm not counting the bosses. I'm just counting the regular enemies at the moment. So like for the comes to the regular enemies, I mean, and of course, like, you added more as time went on. Of course, like in games like Sonic Heroes, it was just a bunch of Eggman like bosses, like Egg Hawk, Egg Albatross, and all that stuff. But they worked their own way
It's
because they were different.
unfortunate that aside from Team A versus Team B battles,
Yeah,
which,
I
like,
wasn't.
first Team A versus Team B battle was in the Metropolis Zone area, I think it was called.
Grand Metropolis,
For
yeah.
Sonic and Team Rose,
Yes,
it
and
was those two versing against each other. Well, for Team Dark and Team Chaotic, it was those two versing each other.
and then
Then
for
in
Frog
the
Forest or whatever.
then in the Frog Forest area, it was Team Sonic versus Team Dark.
And Team Rose
Then,
versus Team Chaotix.
and Team Rose versus Team Chaotic.
Yeah.
You never got a Team Rose versus Team Dark.
Maybe.
And Team Sonic
That's
versus Team Chaotic.
That's
Yeah.
true. I can tell you this for me with Sonic.
But a lot
I've
of the
I've
bosses
loved.
were shared across the different levels.
Yeah, true. And for me with Sonic, I've loved a lot of the bosses and whatnot in Sonic, and I never thought that all of them were overly creative. But for me, a lot about what made Sonic good was the level design for me. I really did enjoy Sonic Adventures 1 and 2. They are my favorite 3D Sonics. I, of course, love the Sega Genesis, Mega Drive Sonics from the 16-bit era. But aside from those, my two favorite Sonics outside of the 16-bit era were, of course, Sonic Rush on the DS and Sonic Mania. I was pleasantly surprised with Sonic Mania. I got it on the Switch. I bought a physical copy, and I've played through it twice, trying to get as much out of the game as I can. And I'm not a completist. I don't like to do things 100%. I like to run through a game and usually move on to the next game. But Sonic Mania was a game I played twice. But again, I have loved bosses in Sonic, both in the 3D era and in the 2D era. But as far as the more modern Sonics are concerned, even though I did like Sonic Adventures 1 and 2, and those were 3D, especially when the Dreamcast came out, Sonic Adventures 1 blew my mind. It was my favorite game on the Dreamcast because I got the Dreamcast launch day. I actually worked launch day because when the Dreamcast came out, just a quick story, I was working for EB Games, which does not exist in the United States anymore. It's all GameStop.
Yeah,
I think
and Babbage's doesn't exist anymore
EB
either.
Games is the Canadian. EB Games is the Canadian version of GameStop. We don't have a GameStop up here.
Understood, right? Yeah, they just never changed the name up there. But GameStop bought all the EB Games out that were in the U.S. and changed the name to Games. But I worked at an EB Games electronic boutique, and that was actually, when was that? Yeah, that was.
Wait, so that's what EB meant? Electronic boutique?
That is correct. EB stands for Electronic Boutique.
Never knew that.
Yep.
Never knew that.
Look it up on Google.
I believe
EB Games stands for Electronic Boutique. Because the one I worked at was a very old one. I worked there from 97 to 99. I started working there when I was a junior in college. And then when I got out of school and I was waiting to get into grad school, I didn't go back to school to start working on my PhD until around 2001 or 2, was it? Damn, I don't even remember anymore the year I started. But I was working a few different jobs, and EB Games was one of them. But yeah, the one I worked at still said Electronic Boutique on it. But Electronic Boutique is actually an old company. They go back to the early 80s, maybe even the late 70s, possibly. I don't know the exact history of the company, but yeah. Anyway, I was there. I worked launch day. I picked up my, it launched on 9/9/1999 was the launch date for the Sega Dreamcast. And I worked that launch, and I took mine home and played Sonic Adventures 2 because it was a launch title. And I was super impressed with it. I loved it. And to this day, it's still my favorite, 3D Sonic game. And I thought that the bosses and the enemies in it were top notch. But I just want to say level design has always been the biggest thing for me with a Sonic game. And I love Sonic Rush, which was on the DS, one of my favorite DS games. And I love Sonic Mania. I'm not going to say it's one of my favorite, current gen games, because I would say Sonic Mania is definitely a current gen game. But definitely one of my favorite current side-scrolling games is Sonic Mania. Current as meaning something that's come out in the last couple. After, if you got anything else to say about Sonic, I think Mega Man is a good series to talk about enemies.
Is very unique.
Especially Legends.
Exactly.
Especially the whole series itself is unique because, you have your mentors, but across the franchise, even those basic things have been unique. They've kept the helmets shielding them, but in the Classic and X series, they have spat pellets. In the Battle Network games, they actually send shockwaves at you. Because they have that mining tool on them.
And I played a lot of Mega Man, but I did not play the BattleNet series. So it's interesting to hear the difference in the enemies.
Yeah, it's like the
So the same enemy can be doing different types of an attack depending on the game itself.
Did either of you play Mega Man 11?
nope.
No, I have not. But I have played Mega Man X Command Mission,
I've only played
and that game was unique.
I've only played Mega Man 8 and the Mega Man Legends games, because that's pretty much all I did. I tried the X games. I didn't really like the X games. I didn't really care for the Mega Man X games, but
Yeah, the X series is a lot harder
it's not that much
than
fun.
your classic Mega Man game.
Mega Man Legends 2 will always be my favorite Mega Man game, but I like the main antagonist of Mega Man Legends 1, Tron Bone. She actually got a game of her own as a spin-off prequel to Mega Man Legends 1.
The Misadventure of Trombone.
Which is one of the most expensive PS1 games on the planet, and it's not even worth getting because look, you're just basically in a mech the whole time, so it's not
What's
even
the
worth
cost? What's the cost at?
it. Oh,
I wouldn't.
Go
Hey,
ahead.
TT? You are going to need a flame shield for what you just stated, because a lot of Trombone fans are going to come after you once they hear that.
Oh dear.
Pitchforks.
Well, at least Grimm's going to get
It's
money
currently
for
unavailable,
selling
but
pitchforks and torches.
You want to know how much it goes for, Grim?
Yes.
$1,500.
Wow, more than Ruler Rose, and I thought Ruler Rose was too expensive.
Did you consider that?
Ruler Rose is, I think, between
cool.
$600 and $700, right?
Mm-hmm. Quan is more expensive, and hell, Lunar. I thought the Lunar games were expensive. No,
Lunar games are expensive, but they're not up that high.
Man, yeah, and Tamba, the Tamba games are not even that expensive, but that's kind of a topic.
I mean, the original Lunar Sega CD games might be really, really expensive, but the PlayStation Lunar 1 and 2, the PS1 versions, they might be a couple $100, but I don't, they're not astronomically high.
Yeah, I give it, yeah. But like you just said, because
Not to be off topic again. Speaking of prices, I just noticed the other day that Castlevania Symphony of the Night, a physical disc in good condition, not even sealed, are going for like $180 for a game that you can buy on Xbox Live and PSN. It's $180 for a physical version. I don't get that.
No, yeah,
Hey.
no.
You want to know what's worse than 180?
What?
330 for Fire Emblem Path of Radiance.
Yeah.
Holy crap. Is that the GameCube?
And that's the GameCube title.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually own
And
it.
that's
I do
on
have a copy of it.
Yeah.
I do have a copy of it.
Yeah, but
And
yeah, we were talking
Fire
about
Emblem,
Yep.
the enemies in that game, like the series in general, they vary but hardly change in their attacking mechanics. Now, the series have improved on certain things, and it's more you're playing for the story because the gameplay is always the same, but you're more playing for the story rather than seeing unique enemies, aside from some of the 3D games having some unique design bosses.
Yeah, but the thing is, when it comes to unique enemies, there's one we have to mention, and nobody would see this, but it's gonna be a spoiler here. Heavy Rain, Scott Shelby, he's a unique enemy because what makes him unique is that
it Heavy Rain more of an FMV game?
Well, we're talking about enemies in general. We're talking about enemies.
Yeah,
in general.
I'm just asking because I did not play through Heavy Rain. I mean, I've seen screenshots and
it's a game that plays like a movie, and what makes Scott Shelby unique as an enemy is that you don't know that he's the origami killer. You don't know that he's the main bad guy because it's mysterious in its own ways. And the thing is that his motives on what he did is also makes him unique. What his motives were like he did all those killings of those boys because he was looking for a father that wouldn't do what his father would do, sacrifice himself in order to save his son. Because when Scott's twin brother John drowned in a pipe that was filled up with rainwater when his foot got stuck, his dad was too drunk to come save him, and because of that, he got Scott and ended up getting adopted, and ever since then he wanted to find someone who would be able to sacrifice himself in order to save their son, even if it meant going through some of the dangerous tasks ever, and that's what makes him a unique enemy, in my opinion.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds pretty cool. I mean,
And it also makes the enemy's goal personal.
yeah, that is a good point. And you need that sort of thing in a game like Heavy Rain because it is so heavily story based, and there aren't a lot of mechanics, and yeah, there just aren't a lot of mechanics in the game. So it makes
there
sense
is-
that they would do that.
Though, if I remember, I believe it was Heavy Rain, it had a funny glitch where the main character was just yelling the same name over and over.
Yeah, Jason. No, that wasn't a glitch. That was a meme that people did.
I'm pretty sure that actually started off as a glitch.
No, because you can
And
call
then
the
people
Jason
started
one.
memeing the glitch.
It wasn't a glitch. I played the game myself, and like, it was just basically like you're calling for your son Jason or Sean, so you have to keep pressing the button over. You have the option to press the button over and over. Is what it is.
It was even going on through cutscenes.
Oh no, I did not know that. I never.
It's a rare random glitch. That's all I know.
That is interesting.
I saw it on a
And never
top 10
patched
posting.
out.
Like, it's one of those things you don't normally see. It's
Yeah.
not like, hey, if you, like, crouch out into, like, this little space you can clip through type glitch or anything you have to, like, do yourself. It's, like, one of those random glitches that appear, like, if you get into a battle and you kill the enemy, but the battle is, like, still going for no reason, that's completely out of your control. It's a random glitch that just happens.
Yeah.
But once again, we're getting off topic.
Well, we were talking about Heavy Rain in general, so we were talking about Heavy Rain right at the back, so it's fine. Just we're gonna go off topic a little bit here anyway, so it's fine. It's not gonna be an issue. But like, if you want to talk about another unique a unique villain and stuff, there's Admiral Tolwyn from Wing Commander 4: The Price of Freedom. What makes him unique is that like you find out that he
Oh, you're going old school DOS games now, eh?
yeah, 'cause I love the Wing Commander franchise. I have the reviews on my channel.
Yeah.
3 and 4.
I just want to say, I started playing Wing Commander back when they came out in the late 80s when they were only on DOS before any of them made it to any other platform. And Origin Systems, the company that made Wing Commander, which eventually got bought out by EA and the company was ruined, created one of my all-time favorite franchises, Ultima, which also had a running enemy in the later part of the series, a running boss that you had to start trying to beat in 7, and you did not beat till Ultima 9, called the Guardian. And I don't, for those out there who have not heard of Ultima, definitely give it a Google and check it out.
Yeah, because like it's just that like it's just, but like I want to talk about some enemies, some main protagonists that are not very interesting in my opinion. We should talk about that right now because we've been talking about a lot of ones that
Sure,
are
we can end with that, but I just want to throw out one more franchise we haven't really mentioned.
Go ahead.
That has, I think, a bunch of really great enemies and really great bosses throughout all of the games that have existed in that franchise, and that is Metal Gear.
Oh yeah, Metal Gear, yes. Yeah,
Metal
like
Gear.
yeah, like of course, like Liquid Snake, Solidus Snake, or Solidus itself,
Absolutely, yep.
and the
boss.
boss and Liquid Ocelot, I'll call him. And yeah, like they're all unique in their own way because like then again, the main bad guy is Ocelot and Liquid, because Revolver Ocelot's been around since the first game, so he's just one of the antagonists, and Liquid himself has been in. Well, Liquid himself could be like kind of a secondary antagonist because he wasn't in Snake Eater. Ocelot was.
And then you have the boss who was just tragic.
Yeah, it's Ryan's mother to be exact. Spoiler alert there.
Ah! Spoiler! Burn him! Ah! Ah!
Take forks! Throw them into TT!
Oh, I've been hit. Oh,
Throw them into TT!
Oh, wow. You're a pathetic boss if you went down in one hit.
Yep.
I didn't even have to grind. I'm still only level 1 here.
TTBurger, the weakest boss in history.
Yeah. But
I'll
yeah.
be honest here. Bosses that look super powerful that goes down in one hit are kind of funny in a way.
Mm-hmm. That's
Like,
funny.
Or, you know, you overgrind your characters. You're like, okay, I'm ready. This is going to be tough. You know, I was grinding for 30 hours to do the... Damn,
is
fight's
why-
over in 1 minute.
Personal rule. First boss, be between level 5 and 10, depending on the game. That way you're not necessarily overpowered, but you're not going to go down in a couple hits.
Nope.
Unless you're playing on hard mode.
That's true.
Or a lunatic mode.
How true that is. But like, so I think like another bad. Let's talk about some villains who are not very good. Like what the ones we're looking for, like lame antagonists or bad antagonists are not very interesting. And I have one that's out in the head right now. Zhang Li from Perfect Dark Zero. His motive is just he's evil. That's it. And he wants to just be powerful. That's all it is.
Well, Perfect Dark Zero was not the best written game.
Well, still, it's an uninteresting antagonist for an uninteresting game, but still, just wanted to point it out there. Here's the thing, and of course, like what else to have there?
To me, once again, Atelier Rise's 2 final boss was pretty disappointing because the first game, you have the queen of those monsters that were invading. She was like, you hear like different legends, and one of those legends were about the beasts of this one area. It turns out that they are very powerful enemies and they have a queen.
A queen, eh? That's interesting there.
And she was a very tough and entertaining boss. Yes, she didn't say anything because she herself was a monster and was following her instincts by commanding the other creatures to follow this certain instincts to devour. But she was interesting because not only she followed her instincts, but when she sees you as a threat and you beat her first form, she goes into a second form and it catches you off guard and it's done in the way and the music just fits the fight perfectly. It was a well executed fight. And I actually did not mind the recolor of her in the base game. That was the most powerful optional boss because she just looked freaking awesome in black and red, and it was a lot tougher, and she was actually one of the few of the recolors of a series I didn't mind.
No, not at all.
And the DLC version of that final boss was even harder and faster. And thinking about it, I actually like that golden blue coloration, and it just like I liked it better than what Ryza 2 did because the final boss of Ryza 2, yeah, he like does this like mode change mid-battle, but I can't really say he's memorable compared to the first Ryza game's final boss. And even the DLC version of him, the first game's DLC final boss reskin was harder than him.
That what on for Ryza 2, what system did you play it on? I was just wondering. Switch.
I
PS4
played it on
only.
Switch because at the time
Yeah.
I got it, I didn't have access to my computer. Oh wait, did you say Ryzen 1 or 2?
Ryza 2.
Okay. I did have access to my computer, but pretty much I wanted to get Ryza 2 on the Switch because I had Ryza 1 on the Switch. And if you've beaten the first game, something like the classic costumes unlock for them. Which is pretty cool when games do that. Like, they have this, like, sequel to a game on the same system, and if you have, like, cleared data for it, you get to, like, these extra bonuses or something. Some bonuses being better than others, depending on the game.
Yeah, I love my Switch, but I think Ryza has a few graphical frame rate problems on the Switch, which unfortunately is a problem with the Switch with a lot of games, right? So I'd
never
originally
know it. So,
I'd originally bought Ryza 2 on the Switch and I didn't open it, but I returned it and swapped it out for PS5
how
version.
dare you swap out a game like that? How dare you?
I swapped it for the PS5 version.
Yeah.
So there is a PS5 version of Ryza. So basically, if you buy the PS4 version of Ryza, it just you put it in your PS5 and it just upgrades it to the PS5. And I got to play it in 4K, 60 frames per second locked, and it looked beautiful. I think it looked beautiful.
Okay, Stadia. You're just a Game Boy. Okay, Stadia. Just continue playing.
Stadia, poor Stadia.
Yeah.
Stadia will one day rule a house.
Stadia tried.
We try, yeah.
It tried and died. You know what? It came too early and it's leaving too late. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, you want to talk about another uninteresting enemy, lame antagonist? Let's see who
Sure.
that would be. I just had it in my head just a minute ago and I lost train of thought here at the moment. Yeah, but you guys, when you guys continue with like not, how many do you guys have any other antagonists that were considered not interesting in your eyes?
Well, there is an antagonist I'm thinking of, but it's not that he's not interesting. It's more like he's a very weird antagonist. He's not the main
Oh,
antagonist,
I don't think of now.
but
Go ahead, you talk first.
he
Though.
is weird.
I can tell
but
you.
We'll talk about the weird antagonist after this.
I'll tell you one antagonist that was lame. Dagon from Mortal Kombat Armageddon. He was like, he's evil. He wants to kill Taven to become all powerful and everything, and that's all he does and stuff. Not compared to.
I guess what I could say is that the worst villains are the ones that have these combination. Worst design, no motive to whatever the hell they're doing besides I'm evil.
Or they sit on their asses doing nothing.
Pretty much just be like, I am sitting here menacingly, even though I look stupid.
Hey, sometimes people just want to get paid. They have no other motivation. Oh, I'll pay you to be evil.
Evil.
Okay, I'll be evil. I'll be evil for money. I like it.
That's a motivation, at least. Better than not having any motivation, even if it is something stupid.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Hey, money is the big, as they say, is the equalizer. Or the non-equalizer, because
Or,
money makes people unequal, which is an entirely different argument.
yeah, let's not get into politics.
Yeah, we don't need to do that now. But like,
Anyways,
what did you want to talk about
moving
next? Again?
on,
Yeah, yeah. What do you
we'll
want?
be talking about the weird ones, the weird antagonists, even if they're not the biggest of antagonists.
Like Ray Wright from Neptunia Victory.
Or just about every enemy in Persona 5. Because they're
What I
all
was
weird.
about to say is Oliver from Fire Emblem Path of Radiance and Radiant Dawn. He sees himself as somebody exquisite, somebody that respects beauty and is beauty incarnate in himself, even though he's a fat fuck. And ew to those colorations, but... And he is hateable because he was in charge of the Laguz slave trade. The Laguz being human-like creatures with the ability to shapeshift into certain animals. Like the cat Laguz turn into cats, the wolf Laguz, which are the they're from a different continent, from across the sand area, but there's different Laguz, and they do have parts of the animals they're part of. But this guy, even though he's an antagonist in Radiant Dawn, if you talk to him with a certain character, he's like, fuck this, I'm going to protect this guy, so I'm joining you whether you like it or not. It's like, what? This reason is, I must protect the beautiful things. And this creature is so beautiful. He outshines me.
Almost
and
like
he's so beautiful. I have so much respect, even though I'm a slave trader to his kind.
almost like Silver the Hedgehog saying, "I am here to save the future." For the future.
It's
A series that contains all very odd and weird enemies, with talking about kind of like tactical RPGs. Disgaea.
Oh, Disgaea is well known for being over the top.
Oh yeah, I can't. It's been a while since I played a Disgaea game, but I just remember just about every character in Disgaea is over the top, which is great. I love Disgaea. I loved the games I played, so I'm not criticizing for them. I'm not criticizing them for that. I'm just pointing out that if you're looking for a game with a lot of weird, over-the-top enemies and just friendly characters, it's definitely Disgaea.
Disgaea also has an anime based on the first game. Mm-hmm. It's actually a pretty damn good one.
Oh yeah, I've seen it. It is pretty good. Pretty good.
Laharl has to be the best character.
Yeah, I forget
the
the
series.
I forget the main antagonist.
Speaking of anime, I just want to throw this out there quickly for everyone. We will be doing, and I know anime is not exactly video games, but I hope in the future we will do an episode or two talking about our favorite anime.
Yes, we will.
Anyway, back
to
the topic at hand.
Yes, we will be doing one anime. So yeah, it'll be an anime Burgers and Fries anime talk with a shaker like that, or whatever we'll think about it. But that's another episode for another day, people. So yeah.
So stay tuned.
So stay tuned, people.
So we're sort of at the end of our hour or so here. Is there any other quirky bad guys or bad guys that went from being good to being bad, or
Actually, there are
from
some quirky
being
ones.
simple to being really
Yeah,
evolved
I have one.
or
I got one that's weird.
sure,
Pretty
go ahead.
much every single enemy in Metopia.
For me,
Metopia is a fun little Nintendo title, now out for the Switch. And pretty much the main enemy is the Dark Lord. Insert the me face here with the name. And he is stealing all the Mii's faces and slapping them on monsters. Just to give the monsters a face. Like, his reason for doing it? Well, before he became the Dark Lord, he was a person with no face and was put down for it.
yep. From
Like, it's stupid, but it's Miitopia. It's a Mii game. It's one of the comical types of games, so of course there's going to be like some stupid thing. But of course, being put down by others can make people turn to the dark side, as some would say.
yeah, for me,
sense.
So he did have a reason why he turned evil, making him at least more sensible reason for being a villain compared to other villains that we've talked about.
And you, Tony, what did you
I
have?
was thinking about the robots of Sonic R, like Eggman Robot, Mecha Knuckles, and Tailstone. I consider them antagonists. You really don't know anything about them. Just they're funny protagonists and antagonists. I mean, they're funny antagonists.
Antagonist.
That's what I said. Yeah.
But the saddest one in the Sonic series, asides, I think his name was E103?
E102 Gamma.
Yeah, Gamma.
Yeah. He wasn't really an enemy because he did become a good guy.
He did become a good guy, but there's one that's actually just as sad, especially if you look at his anime counterpart, Emerald.
Emerald, whatever you pronounce him. Yeah, he wasn't really an enemy though. Just Eggman found. Eggman was just using it.
Not necessarily, at least not in the anime. It was a creation of Eggman that was pretty much became docile and was found by, at least in the anime, Cream the Rabbit. And the fact, at least in the anime, I'm not sure about the game, but the fact that Cream the Rabbit pretty much had to put down that robot because it went ballistic after touching the Chaos Emerald. It's really sad because it's not like that robot choose to go ballistic.
It was just told to. Not told. It was
No, it wasn't even ordered to. Something about the Chaos Emerald triggered some of its old programming to go off, and it became super violent and started attacking. So it was like a malfunction. Not an order, not a reprogramming, but a malfunction in the machine because of the energy of the Chaos Emerald. Causing the pure, sweet robot to pretty much turn.
Yeah, I think that's those are all great points.
I'd say that the tragic enemies are probably some of the best enemies because it's like they aren't choosing to do this. Some of them are acting this way because something out of their control is forcing them, or
The subconscious.
just like everything around them in the world is just like so against them, like Mr. Freeze from the Batman series.
Yes. Oh,
Because
the whole thing with his wife.
yeah, all
Yeah.
Mr. Freeze wants to do is save his wife, but he's not getting the support he needs, so he just turns to a life of crime just to save her from the illness. Tragic villains like that, they are my favorite type of villains. They are my favorite type of enemies because they get me. They get me so hard. Because it's like, I want to support the enemies that are
Yeah.
just like
And
going through bullshit that shouldn't have happened because they do have something positive they wanted to do, but just
without getting
getting
into
emotional.
without even getting into more specifics about Batman enemies, I will just throw this out there as someone who has a lot of experience in the comic book industry. Batman has some of the best written stories and stories and enemies that have ever been in comic books, just in general. Mr. Freeze being one example, but there are so many others. Hush is another example. There are just so many. We could go on forever about that.
And some iterations of Poison Ivy, she's tragic as well.
Yes, exactly.
Because she, in one of the movies, she was just a scientist that wants to help the world with plants, but she was like pushed into the chemicals by her abusive boss, and because of that, she ended up gaining control over plants and such.
And then you have like Catwoman, who goes back and forth. Sometimes she's helping Batman. Sometimes she's a criminal, and some of her origin stories are very tragic as well. How she became who she was, too. Look, I think these were all great examples we gave. And I think this is such an in-depth topic. It's so hard to cover in just one episode. And maybe in the future, one of the things we can do
is make a
we can do
return
this
episode.
again, but revisit this by franchise, meaning we can take an entire episode of the podcast and just kind of break down the enemies and the evolution of these enemies and these bosses by franchise instead of a total overview. And I think this was a great total overview, kind of the topic. But, we could take this so in depth, and I think people would really enjoy that. We could do Zelda, we could do Metal Gear, we could do Sonic, and just do it episode by episode and just break down each and every game as we go along in that episode in future installments of the podcast.
Yeah.
What do you think about that, Tony?
I like it. I like it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Enemies
So,
that work together understand teamwork's better than us humans in real life at times.
Definitely. Teamwork with a
Absolutely.
capital T is what I'd call it.
with a capital T. All right, I think that's about it for us on the time, right, on this episode, Tony?
You're correct. Yep, you're correct.
Well, I guess that's it for today.
Well, next up we'll talk about portable gaming or so. Looking forward to it.
Unless we decide to change it.
Which
And-
exactly?
And guys,
50-50.
if you're planning to write a villain, make sure that you do it right.
Please do. Please do.
Give your villain some motivation,
do it,
other
please.
than just money.
Motivation, maybe a tragic backstory that doesn't feel like a cliche or forced.
And don't use overused tropes.
Yeah. But like that's pretty much it for this episode. The reviews will continue. I just finished as it's recording. I just finished up the Need for Speed reviews. So be on the lookout. There's more coming along the way. So Be on the lookout for that. But that's pretty much all I gotta say for this episode. This is Tony, Sadet, and Grim peacing out, and stay tuned for the next Burgers and Fries
Peace,
Games Up with
everyone.
a Shake. Peace, everyone.